How do you feel talking about all this stuff, being this prominent public figure who's a revered athlete? You know, like
less revered now.
Well, not really. Not when you kick ass. They let all that shit go. All that COVID shit they let go as soon as you got back on the field.
I was COVID MVP. I was two-time MVP during COVID.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
They had to shut the fuck up when it comes down to the performance.
Yeah.
You know? And then over time, I think a lot of people that demonized you, especially the fans, they realized you were right.
Yeah. Well, I don't think all of them will entirely admit that. But,
right. In the back of their head, they know you weren't nearly as nutty as they thought you were.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more research comes out. There's more papers published in very reputable scientific publications that talk about, you know, all the things that I was kind of stopping for and talking about. I think in the end, you're on a decision. You stand for something. You stand courageously for what you believe in, or the opposite side of that is either saying nothing or being a coward. And I wasn't willing to do that. Now, say whatever you want about the way I went about doing it. In the end, I made a decision that was best for me. And I'm going to continue talking about this stuff because it's important to me. And I don't want the memories to be lost. I don't want what I went through to get brushed over. And also, I don't give a fuck. You know, I've been able to make a ton of money playing a sport that I'm really good at, and I'm thankful for that. I have a platform. Some people want you to just shut up and throw a football, and that's fine. But I think there has to be certain voices of reason. And many people say I'm an idiot. I'm not smart. I got attacked for my intelligence levels, which is an interesting angle to attack me on. There's a lot of things you can say about me, but that's an interesting angle to go. But in the end, I believe that what I did and what I stand for is a tough position to be in. But I think it's important responsibility to continue to speak up and use my voice to give other people the permission to stand up as well. Because there's a lot of people that believe a lot of the things that I believe in that don't have the opportunity to do it, don't have the courage to do it, don't have the platform to do it in. And I feel like I can speak for some of those people and hold the line for some of those people, regardless of what kind of crosshairs that puts me in with certain media members. You know, they want to shut me down on being on McAfee. They want to shut me up from.
Well, that was the Kimmel thing, right?
Well, no.
Did you ever talk to that dude? Have you ever talked to him?
I've been on the show years ago. Yeah.
Would you ever have a conversation with him in person?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, they wanted me to be on a show in the summertime after I got traded.
Really?
There, obviously been some things that he had said about me that made me go, I don't know if I want to do that. I'd rather, maybe have a side conversation first, iron some things out.
Well, also, I don't think that conversation is a conversation that should be held in front of an audience in 5-minute chunks like they do on television.
Yeah.
That's a conversation that you have to let air out. I want to know why you think the way you think. Him. Sit down with Jimmy. Why do you think the way you think? Why would you think that it's okay to say that it's a real simple thing? The people that have been vaccinated, you treat them. And the people that took horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy. Really? Is that really how you feel? Like people that are sick from a disease that was created in a fucking lab that was funded by our own tax dollars? That's how you feel like? Those people should just die because they don't trust the government or they don't trust the pharmaceutical industrial complex that's been responsible for lying so many fucking times. They're literally criminal organizations that have some of the biggest criminal fines in the history of this country.
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden, they're the ones we're supposed to trust? The liberals were always the ones that were anti-big pharma. They were always the ones that had no trust in big government.
Banks.
Yeah, anti-big banks, all that. And then all of a sudden...
Anti-war.
Yeah, all of a sudden the ideology shifts because so many people are compromised by this very thing that we were talking about before. The very thing that they use to control the media in terms of the news, they use it to control the media in terms of late-night talk shows and monologues as well. It's the same influence because they're the same sponsors. The same people are spending the same money on the same networks. And it has an impact. If it affects your livelihood and affects your future and your ability to do this thing that you love doing, which is hosting a talk show, and you're doing it on a network that is paid for by that money, guess what? That affects you. And if you don't think it affects you, look what they did with the number one guy on TV news, Tucker Carlson. They fired him. He was the number one guy. And they're like, you're getting too crazy. See ya.
You're asking too many questions.
Too many questions. You're getting a little too nutty. All this talk about the CIA definitely killed Kennedy and all the talk, all the things. And now you look at that guy, now he's wild. Yeah. Now, what they've done now is it's like, what a fucking mistake firing that guy. You should have kept him there and contained him. Like the letting that guy go loose and do his own show, because it's not like, unless you kill him, it's not like people are going to stop listening. They're going to be fascinated.
And the impressions, the amount of people watching his stuff, it's crazy.
It's way bigger now. His show's way bigger than
because the access. Because nobody fucking a lot of people they don't even have cable package, right? They have a couple streaming services. Now you got a fucking app. You can watch his shit whenever you want,
anytime you want. Imagine that conversation that he had with that guy about Ozempic. Imagine that being on Fox News.
Yeah,
you can't imagine it.
No chance.
Impossible. There's no fucking way.
I'm not accusing Mr. Klaus Schwab of being on Epstein's Island.
Why did you bring up Jimmy Kimmel when that whole thing was going on?
I had said on the McAfee show before, they had talked about, forever, they talked about releasing the Epstein list or whatever. And I had said that on the show, and he had got on his show and called me a tinfoil hat wearing, doofus who is talking about, I thought he had said that I'm an idiot for even thinking there's a list that's out there.
What was he saying you're a doofus for thinking?
That the list was going to get released, I guess. I don't know what it was.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would anybody defend the people that apparently were on that list? Because it is a real list.
There was something about
place.
Yeah, there was something, a conversation that Pat was having about this list coming out, and we were talking about as a distraction to something else, and I was referring to the list being that there being a list and it coming out. He might have been thinking that I was trying to connect a distraction that was going on with a list being released. So I just said,
So when you were saying that he doesn't want that list to come out, you weren't saying that he was on that
list?
No. No. Okay. See, that was a lot of people, if they saw it out of context.
Nobody watched the fucking clip. That's why.
Right.
They just saw a headline.
They saw a very
it's the anti-vax guy again. Let's fucking hammer him.
Right. But if someone saw that out of context, you could see how, and I thought that you were saying. Because I saw it out of context. I thought that you were saying that Jimmy Kimmel was on that list. Because a lot of celebrities were on that list.
Well, the list hasn't even been released yet.
But whatever list
there was one text of like one victim's stuff. There's 100 victims. Nobody's gotten.
Right.
You talk about people going to jail. No one's gotten to jail. Ghislaine Maxwell was charged and in jail for trafficking to nobody.
Right. Which is wild.
Yeah. Like, look, I said this when I went back on the show. Like, that's a big fucking accusation that I wouldn't make. And I said, Jimmy, I'm glad you're not on the list. And all I'm asking is, let's have the same energy for you talking about the vax and people, if you're not vaxxed, just being left to die.
Yeah.
About these people on the list, because it's fucked up. And what goes on at the top of this shit and why people were going to Epstein's Island and all the conspiracies about whether he was a Mossad member and Ghislaine and her father and all the weird connections. Like, I'm for all corruption in all forms being taken down. I don't give a fuck if you're on the right side, on the left side, whatever. Like, expose it, and especially if you're doing crazy shit like that to kids. Like,
it seems like it was an intelligence operation. It seems like,
of course,
if you had to guess, they were compromising powerful and influential people, and they could use that to control all sorts of narratives.
Yeah.
And to make all sorts of decisions. I mean, how many people, like those guys that were CEOs that had given him money, hundreds of millions of dollars? The fact that you would walk in the foyer of his house in New York City and Bill Clinton's wearing a fucking dress and a painting, and Bill Clinton was on the flight
and the Bush
logs.
Painting?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's some weird shit.
It's weird. It's very weird. It's all very creepy. And the fact that it was a real place. I told you, like, I was telling people that Alex Jones told me about that a long time ago. I thought he was out of his fucking mind. There's a place, they take him, they compromise them, they have sex with kids, and like, what?
Your fucking impression
What?
is so good.
I've known that guy forever. I knew that guy before he talked like that. His voice wasn't as scraggly. All the years of tequila and vodka. But I thought it was nuts, and it turned out to be true. You know, it's turned out to absolutely be true, and still there's no effort whatsoever to try to get to the bottom of it, find out who the people were and why they were there, and there's no like real hardcore congressional investigation of what was being done, how were they being influenced, what was it about.